My name is Grace and this is my presentation of So You Met a Jew. I'm going to talk about first how Tor's story reflects Corden's approach. I was surprised by how closely Tor's story connects with what Corden was saying in Neighboring Faiths. Corden emphasizes in Neighboring Faiths that when you're talking to a Jew about Jesus, it's really important not to be super pushy or disrespectful and thoughtful, and that's exactly what happened in Tor's story. In Tor's story, people didn't argue with him about his Jewish beliefs. They simply invited him to study what the scripture was saying. One of the most powerful moments was when a Christian student in the laundry room simply asked Tor if he wanted an illustration of what the gospel looked like. The student then drew two cliffs, and in the middle there was a huge gap. The gap represented sin, and one of the cliffs represented humanity, and the other cliff represented God. And then the student explained that no amount of human effort can get us across the gap on our own. Then in that moment, Dr. Tor realized what Romans 3:23 says, which is all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. This conversation was really important because this didn't feel like a debate. It just felt like somebody was guiding him to the truth. And this is really important because just like Corden says, people don't come to Jesus by feeling pushed. They come to Jesus by feeling loved and invited. Next, I want to talk about what Corden doesn't mention and the role that Jesus has. It's clear that in both Corden's writings and in Tor's testimony is that Jesus has to be the center. It's really important to note that Dr. Tor didn't see Jesus as just a historical figure, but he came to know Jesus personally as well. He had a real encounter with the living Christ, and that's when everything in his life changed. It wasn't just about the facts or theology, it was about a real relationship with Jesus. In Corden's writings, he doesn't focus on a lot of personal stories like Dr. Tor's, but I think this is a really important part. Dr. Tor's talks about how hard this was emotionally and how much tension he had with his family and his new relationship with Christ. Corden mentions the need for patience, but in Dr. Tor's testimony, it makes that so much more real. Coming to faith takes a lot of time, pain, and a lot of wrestling with God. And this reminds me that when you're helping somebody walk alongside their faith, you have to be really patient and not rush them. And this goes into my third part of how to talk to someone like Dr. Tor. If I was talking to someone like Dr. Tor, I would follow the same example, which is I wouldn't push them to faith, I would invite them. I would ask them honest and curious questions like, have you ever thought about Jesus? Or would you like to know what the Gospels say? And like the student in the laundry room, I would probably use the same illustration that they used of the cliff and the huge gap in between. I would explain that Jesus came to bridge that gap for us. Not because we earned it, but simply because he loves us. I would also make sure that they knew that faith in Jesus isn't about giving up their Jewish identity. It's about discovering the fullness of their faith. I would also pray that they would meet Jesus just like Dr. Tor did, not just in words, but also like personally. And once that happens, it's not just about a belief, it's about a new life. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.